Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Dr. Alfred Kinsey has been responsible for untold consequences and negative impacts regarding human sexuality and morality around the world. We're going to be talking to an expert, Dr. Judith Reisman, on this important subject. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action and associate dean for the law school. And our expert guest, of course, today, again, is Dr. Judith Riesman, who's been with us for most of the week, and we could do many of these programs and not even scratch the surface. But yesterday we ended with the idea that even in Kinsey's own book in 1948, Human Sexuality and the Human Male, or Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, 1948. Yeah. Table 34, he has a chart that clearly indicates that they were committing, and his researchers and how he was gathering this, resulted in crimes that were being committed against young infants.
Sexual assaults against children.
Rapes of babies. Yeah.
And he also has similar charts like that in his other book, or similar statements in his second book, which is 1953.
Yeah, Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. He doesn't have as many. He wasn't particularly interested in girls. He was much more interested in little boys. And that's, of course, why NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, gives him credit for raising their level of acceptance. Yeah.
Now, we talked about shocking things that are in Table 34, which on its face shows that children as young as 4 and 5 months, I believe.
2 months old.
2 months old.
The youngest, right?
The youngest is 2 months.
Were actually having sex crimes committed against them, and he's documenting this for his so-called research.
Yes, he is, yeah.
And his idea is that people are sexual from birth, and therefore it's a good thing, and even a 2-month-old enjoys having the sexual molestation.
Yes, which is why Planned Parenthood is now saying, or has been saying, that children are sexual in the womb. In the womb.
It's absolutely astounding. On the documentary, The Kinsey Syndrome, that features you, about a 2+ hour documentary, you have an interview with an individual by the name of Esther White.
Yes.
Tell us who Esther White is.
Esther was one of the little girls who's being used for Kinsey's research, quote unquote. Her father and her grandfather had gone to Indiana University, was interested in zoology, was involved in zoology, knew Kinsey. And her father was, both of them had molested Esther. Her father in particular was molesting Esther, but was doing it, quote, scientifically. And he was doing it, and she discusses the fact that as a young girl, the horror that she went through, of course. But she also describes the fact that she saw this paper, and she saw the word.
It was after an event where her father had sexually molested her as a young girl. And afterward, he has this paper that has different columns on it.
That's right, yeah.
That have things filled in.
Yeah,
or
he's
to filled in or check off.
Yeah. And the word ORGASM. And she was a very clever young girl, and so she wanted to know what that was. And he said, well, that's something I'm doing. I have to fill this out, and I've got to get it out and mail it out.
And in fact, he was late in getting it out.
He was late in getting it out. And later, he had an early copy of Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. I believe it was the female. And he showed it to her that it was signed to him by Kinsey. And he said that he had been contributing to science.
And Dr. Riesman, now, is Esther White the only person that has come forward?
No, Esther's not. Esther we found because of the Yorkshire Television, an English television production called Kinsey's Pedophiles, which is reasonably clear, interviewed Esther to symbolize the other people that they had also found. And there's a young man, he's not so young now, who has come forward, and then there's another woman who's come forward. And in fact, we're trying to do a call-out. We're planning a call-out in the future, which would mean that any person who was sexually abused between the years of 1938 and 1956, when Kinsey was doing all this and had his pedophiles out doing these things to children, that anyone who was abused within that space of time, within those years, ought to really contact us and let us know, because they have a right to demand to see the records of the Kinsey Institute to find out if they were victimized by these people.
And I want to talk a little bit more about that as the program progresses. Let me ask you about Esther White. She saw this chart.
Yes.
She asked her dad about it.
Yes.
Who had just committed a sexual assault on her.
Yes.
He's filling out the columns.
That's right.
And he's presumably mailing it back in to Alfred Kinsey, who he is doing scientific research for on his own daughter.
Right.
Now, she meets Dr. Alfred Kinsey along with her father one time, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, she was brought by her father.
She's still a young girl.
She's still a young girl. She was brought by her father to meet this great man, and in Ohio. And she describes coming into this house, and her father introduces her to Kinsey, and Kinsey was there with, I think she said it was Pomeroy. I remember it was Pomeroy versus Gebhard, one of his co-people, and introduces her and says he had trained her ahead of time. She would be asked questions, and so she had to obey. And so she was asked by Kinsey, do you love your father? Yeah. So she knew to say, yes, of course, and are you happy, and that sort of thing. So she's saying yes. Then he hands over a check. He said, I almost forgot. He gives a check to the father. And he said, I didn't know who to give this to you or to, the grandfather. Mm-hmm. So he gives this check to the father. And it wasn't until years later when Esther heard about my research through Concerned Women for America that she contacted me, and she said, I know I'm one of those victims.
So Kinsey is paying her father for him to sexually molest her and record the responses so he can then put it in his research and then make it look like that is normal America.
Yes.
That's Main Street, USA.
And he also paid Rex King, the other fellow who had raped 188 children, some in his own family and some, not in his family. They call him Rex King. He also, that's on record as well, from one of Kinsey's, from one of his biographers, that he actually paid him to do the same thing. Yes, to these children.
Now,
the father of human sexuality education worldwide.
And people like Haye, who was one of the foremost pioneers of the homosexual activist lobby, Kevin Jennings, President Obama's former safe school czar and founder of GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, Haye talked about what a wonderful thing it was for pederasty for a young boy to have sexual experiences with adult males. How much of Kinsey's research has influenced the homosexual lobby, people like Haye, people like Kevin Jennings, and NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, this whole sexual relativist movement?
Well, Haye quotes to Kinsey. He says he was interviewed by Kinsey. He thought it was absolutely wonderful, and he read the book and gives great credit to Kinsey for revolutionizing him as well. He was just a plain old communist before, and then he shifted gears and he went off, left his wife and his children, and started to form the Mattachine Society and the whole approach to homosexuality that we don't deal with anymore. Kinsey said we're 10%. He quotes the 10%. We're no longer.
That's the 10% myth that 10% of males are homosexual.
Are homosexual at points in their lives, and it's fine and it's good.
Yeah. Well, our guest has been Dr. Judith Riesman. It's hard to imagine that we've done already 4 programs and we're still not even very far into this subject matter. But we have a book that Dr. Riesman just wrote this year. It's called Sexual Sabotage. You can get a copy of it at Liberty Counsel. Call us at 1-800-671-1776. This is one of her many books, but this is her most recent book. I tell you what, when you read this book, it'll make your blood boil. How did this fraud get perpetrated, and why have so many people just bought it hook, line, and sinker when it is so diabolical and so damaging to children and to not only America, but even literally around the world? Sexual Sabotage, you can order it from Liberty Counsel, lc.org, or call us 1-800-671-1776. You can also become a partner with Liberty Counsel by financially supporting this ministry with a regular contribution. You can go to our website at lc.org and give an online credit card contribution, or you can text us at 20222, 20222. In the subject line, put down LC for a contribution of $10.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.